Community Viewpoint.
And welcome once again to another edition of Community Viewpoint. I'm John Pawlak, your host for the segment, and today we're going to be talking about one of my favorite topics. It's called Ash Meadows. It's a wildlife refuge. There it is. It's a National Wildlife Refuge, and it's that time of the year because it's spring, and we have with us today Peter Pearsall, who is the Visitor Service Specialist. Welcome.
Thank you.
And we're going to be trying to describe it to the folks that have never been there. I've been there a number of times, not as of late, but it's just a wonderful place out in the wilderness that we call home. And there are many special things about it. And then Peter will tell us about some of the special things and what does make it so special.
So Ash Meadows is an oasis in the Mojave Desert. It's known as the largest remaining oasis in the northern Mojave. We have more than 50 springs and seeps that together discharge more than 10,000 gallons of water per minute. Mm-hmm. And all of that water, that year-round water, it sustains a unique sort of assemblage of plants and animals. We have 26 species of plants and animals at Ash Meadows that are either restricted just to the bounds of the refuge or are found in kind of the general Amargosa Valley.
Oh, interesting. And where would something like this be found? Is it close?
So Ash Meadows is close. It's about an hour and a half northwest of Las Vegas. It's about a 35 to 40-minute drive from Pahrump.
And there's a number of different ways to get there. Most of them are a little difficult because of the roads, but as I've been told before, the best way to get there is actually near Longstreet Casino. Is that what you usually suggest?
So the Highway 373, I believe, that goes south from Amargosa Valley is probably the most popular way to access.
I think we had a picture of it.
And that's called the west entrance to the refuge. We also have a south entrance that is a longer gravel road, and some folks do access the refuge from Crystal, Nevada, which is sort of the northeast entrance.
Have you ever done it that way?
Yeah. You know, the roads, they're always seasonally dependent.
Especially that one.
Yes, yeah. When we get rain events, the roads often, they become impassable, but the west entrance is the most reliable.
Yes, there's two on the southern end, the gravel roads. One is longer than the other, but it's right off of Bella Vista, so you could, as you're driving towards the Opera House, if you're going that way, or to Death Valley, stop in at the Ash Meadows Refuge for a day of it, because basically there's enough to do over there with the new visitor center and the boardwalks. So tell us a little bit about the visitor center. It's 3-4 years old?
Yeah, the visitor center opened in December of 2014. So it's still relatively new. Mm-hmm. It's quite large. It has a number of exhibits in it. It's a great place to bring your family. There are interactive exhibits. There's activities for kids of all ages, people of all ages, really. And like you mentioned, we do have 3 boardwalks. The longest one leaves directly from the visitor center. That's Crystal Spring Boardwalk, and it's 9/10 of a mile. And it is an accessible boardwalk, so it's pretty level grade the whole way. And then we have boardwalks at Point of Rocks and Longstreet Spring and Cabin.
Yes, and they're fantastic. If you have a wheelchair, if you're confined to a wheelchair or something like that, naturally they're all ADA compliant and they're easy to access. You brought some pictures along with you. Let's go through the library of the pictures that you brought and let's speak about some of those.
Sure.
If we could find those. There they are.
So I mentioned earlier that Ash Meadows has a number of endemic plant and animal species. This is one of our endemic plants. This is the Ash Meadows sunray, and it's blooming right now, so visitors to the refuge today can see this plant in bloom across the refuge.
So do many people ask you about the bloom?
Yes, particularly this time of year.
What do you tell them?
With it being springtime, we have a lot of folks coming in wanting to see the super bloom because we've had a very wet late winter, early spring, and we unfortunately have to tell them that Ash Meadows doesn't really get the kind of super bloom sort of thing that you see sometimes in Death Valley. But we do have blooms almost year-round, excluding the coldest months of winter. But there are plants blooming at Ash Meadows right now. It's not going to be that super bloom, you know, covering the entire valley kind of thing. But we do have plants here, and a lot of the plants are found only at Ash Meadows.
Oh, definitely, yes. And this is a...
This is also the Ash Meadows sunray, and this is a pygmy blue butterfly nectaring on it.
Okay. And this is...
That's
that
Crystal Reservoir. So we
Yes.
have two reservoirs on the refuge. Crystal is the larger one, and then
Yes.
there's Peterson as well.
Yes.
Both great places to birdwatch. This is Crystal again. So bird watching is a very popular activity at the refuge. We do have more than 250 bird species. This is one of our year-round resident bird species, the Gambel's quail. But over the course of the refuge's existence, more than 270 bird species have been recorded. We get a lot of migrants passing through. This is another year-round resident, the greater roadrunner, which you folks see in Pahrump, I'm sure.
Yes.
At Point of Rocks, that boardwalk area on the refuge is the only place where you have a chance to see desert bighorn sheep. And this is actually taken at Point of Rocks. You can see in the kind of upper left frame, that's the visitor center, the Ash Meadows Visitor Center there.
Oh, sweet.
So this resident herd does make appearances every now and again. These are Devil's Hole pupfish.
And you will not find them anyplace else on the face of the earth.
That's correct.
There will be a Devil's Hole conference coming up. I go to that every year. And I believe the last spring count, which happened April 3rd, if you're counting fish, if you're worried about it, they had, I believe, 123. The fall is more usually than the spring, and it's usually up in the 150s. They're doing very well.
Yeah, I heard that this springtime count was the highest since 2003.
Yes, and they've decided to help them with some special formula food. I don't know if it's Purina or what. No, they're augmenting their food supply, so that's helping them also. I don't know if it's messing with Mother Nature or what, but they're not changing the species at all, but they're just fattening up a little bit so they produce a little bit better.
Yeah, because it is such a small population of animals found nowhere else on the planet. There are some interesting ways that that researchers and scientists involved with the fish are sort of maintaining that population and ensuring that it is around for future generations.
Yes. Do we have any more pictures there? Let's go. Yes? Let's go back to the pictures, because that's what we're here for, to see what Ash Meadows is about. Oh, let's show. Oh, you had a recent Junior Ranger event?
Yes.
Let's look at that and see what that's involved. Let's talk about it for a minute before we go into that. What does that involve?
So recently we had an event at the refuge called Junior Refuge Ranger Day. Mm-hmm. So we do have a program that it targets children, basically, and it's a booklet that children can, an activity workbook, basically, that children can work their way through when they visit the refuge. And the event is sort of an extension of those activities, and we bring our partners and volunteers out to help put on essentially just an array of activities and sort of learning opportunities that pertain to the refuge itself, and it's a family-friendly event.
Well, let's go look at it while we're keep us mic'd up in case there's something that intelligent I want to say.
And it is the biggest event that we've got at Ash Meadows every year.
Okay.
It typically happens in the spring.
That's your visitor center then?
Yep. This is all filmed in the visitor center. Some years we've had it where the the stations, the activity stations we call them, are out on the boardwalk, for instance. This year, with some wind forecast, we decided to kind of keep things in the visitor center itself.
It's windy up there too, huh?
It sure is. It can be. So there is also Junior Refuge Ranger Days at Desert National Wildlife Refuge, closer to Las Vegas, and theirs is in October of this year.
Okay.
But at Ash Meadows, we typically have them in the spring, whether it's February or March. And it's a great way to bring families out to the refuge, to participate in all sorts of activities, and to really explore your local refuge. That's kind of the point, is to have folks come out and see this resource that's open to them year-round.
So how do people find out about this?
They can follow us on Facebook. We also post any kind of events on our website itself, the Ash Meadows website.
On there, yes.
So those are probably the two best ways to keep abreast of any events that we've got going on.
Oh, cool.
So this year we had more than 230 people come to the event, which I think broke some records for the visitor center attendance in a single day.
Cool.
We swore in 34 Junior Refuge Rangers, and I think that's a fun little aspect of the event, because an actual refuge ranger, whether it's a law enforcement ranger or an interpretive ranger, will swear these new recruits in.
Oh, sweet.
Read them a pledge. That's actually what's going on right here. And you can see Puddles the blue goose. That's the mascot of the National Wildlife Refuge System. Made an appearance at the event.
All right. He's been at Earth Day, or she's been at whatever it is.
Yes. Yeah.
Oh,
Speaking of Earth Day, we will be there as well.
Yes. Oh, so cool. I forgot all about your goose.
Yeah, Puddles comes out on special occasions to pose for photo ops, to dance, as you see here, just generally to have fun with our guests.
Okay, great.
Yeah. And you can see that's a ranger from Death Valley National Park, so we do have our partners come out to join us, and it's generally just a great time for everyone involved.
Oh, great. And that's your staff there?
That's the whole team that came out for this event this year.
Beautiful picture of the boardwalk.
That's the Crystal Spring Boardwalk right there.
Yes, yes. Excellent. So we have a minute left. So I want to thank you for coming today. And you said you'll be at Earth Day.
Yes.
Do you have the flyer from Earth Day, Conrad?
So yes, we will have a table at Earth Day. You can look forward to seeing a live desert tortoise.
Okay.
So among a number of other sort of offerings that we'll have, people will have a chance to see a live desert tortoise.
Okay,
so
but
keep
no
that in
pupfish.
mind.
No
No
pupfish,
pupfish,
no.
unfortunately.
You have to go there to see the pupfish. So I want to thank you once again for taking the time out to come see us and promote the Wildlife Refuge. If you've never been there, you got to go. It's great. It's take the whole family, and the visitor center is a sight to behold. It's beautiful. So make use of it, of everybody. So we'll see you next week, and we'll see you at Earth Day on the 20th. So he'll put the flyer up there. So thank you. Bye-bye.
Community Viewpoint.